Everybody, please mute yourself because I actually can't see. Oh, there we go. I found it. Yeah, so just mute everybody except our author. Right. Musa, how's it? How are you doing this evening? How was your day? What's the weather like in Durban?
I'm actually in shorts, so the weather is like quite good. I'm in shorts, in fact. So based on your look and my look, you can see short sleeve, shorts as well.
Joburg's actually not that cold. I just live in a pretty cold house. But it really isn't that cold. There's no heater lit. The floors are stone. And this is for effect, darling.
Oh.
So where'd you go? Okay, there you are.
I'm here, sorry.
So welcome to Life in a Garden, Musa. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We had quite a nice chat the other day. Are those your Zulu colors on your shoulder?
Thank you for Zulu. Thank you for having me. Yes, this is part of my new beginning life journey. I could put it that way.
Yeah.
Yes. So these things, they just strike you when you least expecting it. So let's just say I'm in the process of the initiation to be a Sangoma.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, is that fantastic?
Yes, I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Okay. I'm glad you understand.
You'll have to throw bones for me one day. I'll get them out the soup for you.
I'm glad you understand. I thought you were gonna like ask, follow-up questions. So what is it? What does it do? But I'm glad you do understand.
You're not the only Sangoma, and well, you're going to be a Sangoma, but you're not the only Sangoma, and can't even speak English tonight. You're not the only Sangoma I know. So yes, don't worry, we understand. You can't live in this country and not know what a Sangoma is. Okay, well, if you do, you are living under a rock somewhere. Musa, I want to go back to your youth now, please. Tell us about where you grew up and your parents. Were your parents around? Was your father away at work? What was the story?
I grew up with both parents. My father only passed away when I was in my adulthood. My mom, the rock of the family, devoted Christian. I have two brothers and three sisters. They've in different fields of their careers, doing okay in life. Let's just say I grew up a shy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I'm listening to you.
Okay, let's just say I grew up a shy, quiet boy. I think I wanted, acceptance more than, being self-content with the way I was.
Acceptance from whom? Your peers or?
Peers, I could say peers. At school, if you're like a loner or shy, they tend to isolate you. So I grew up as that kind of a child, but it's only after matric that another thing, I was like tongue-tied. So I had to like read a lot of books in order for me to be able to like have a proper conversation. But even though I will count in my mind before I say a word or say a sentence, that okay, 1, 2, 3, go, and then I will say a sentence. But there is these days it's grade 10, but at that time it was standard 8 or standard 6. I think Miss Morford, because she did realize that I was tongue-tied, but then she advised me to read a lot of books so that I could be able to, speak properly. So yeah, it didn't like disappear altogether in my adulthood, but at least I am able to speak frequently or fluently without having to, stutter. Yeah.
Musa, in your bio, it says that you're a jailbird. Who were you running with? Were you running with the wrong crowd? How did you get involved in crime? What did you do? Very big question.
I was actually hanging out with the wrong crowd. As I said, I wanted acceptance from my peers, and growing up in a township, it's kind of hard not to idolize or admire these guys in BMWs, swanky cars. It's kind of hard. And at school, when I was riding the bus going to school, guys like my peers, parking nice cars, dressed like, swanky clothes, they all flashy and all that. I guess I am one of those that was influenced in a way to be able to say, this seems like a better lifestyle than school, than working. Because after school, I did a electrical engineering technical diploma, and then I got hired by Transnet as an apprentice. But I used to ride a train going to work, and in a bus and then en route to work, a train. So now I see these guys like in the mornings, they relax. In fact, they were like, picking up girls, like going to schools, young girls, the fashion, any young girl being dropped by a BM or a Golf to school. But I think it used to kind of frustrate me, and I became a bit jealous. But at the same time, I was thinking, wow, these guys are living a good life whilst I am going to work. At work, I'll be working with hard metals like DC generators. I will cut my hands. I come back home and I would sleep around about 6, 7 because I'm so tired. I wake up the next day, the alarm like wakes me up the next day, and then I do like a, it's a recurring thing to me. But these guys, they have the best time of their life. So I guess I fell into that trap, and then I started associating with them. And because now I was doing an apprenticeship, I would get a break on certain months to go study at the college. So that time, I think that's where I got the opportunity to try and hang out with these guys, because some of them I grew up with them. So after tech, then when I go home, then I'll see them somewhere, then I will hang out with them. And I wanted to buy a car.
A BMW?
No, so wish I could afford that. But I wanted to buy a car. I got my driver's license at 19. So I said, I beg your pardon?
Me too.
You too?
Me too.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I think I was 20.
I was 19 because I wanted to buy a car. I wanted to be like, in the same league with these guys. And then my working as an apprenticeship at Transnet afforded me a bit of money in order to buy, certain types of brands that will make you look good. And so that is how I wouldn't say I got trapped, but that is how I got sucked into this life of being a jailbird, because one thing definitely sure led to another and the next until I was deep in.
What did you go to jail for?
Motor car theft, hijacking, attempted murder. Yeah.
So you're a bit of a rotten oak, eh, dude?
I was, but you know, in life, there are certain, you know, incidences or life incidences that will probably let you realize that you far in too deep. So yeah.
Musa,
Yeah. Yes.
how long were you in jail for?
Okay, I never got convicted, but I was charged a few times, and I'll probably be there a month or two and then come out. But truth or the matter of fact is, my crimes were part of a crew that made my involvement slightly less prosecution, or I could say something like that, prosecuting.
What do you mean? Didn't they get caught that much, or did some of them fall and you didn't? What do you, please be more specific.
I will be in a car with guys that are carrying guns, but I will be the owner of the car and I'll be the driver. So when that happens, when the police stops you, you are all arrested. But because the gun was not found on me, so I'll be acquitted because of that. I don't know what you call it, but I will say because of that.
It's a little loophole in the law in this country, because in America you would go to jail regardless.
There is it.
If they don't kill you first.
South African judicial system. If you are four in a car and there is one gun and the gun is under a passenger seat, and I am the driver, I will easily plead innocence, because now I'm the driver and the gun is under a passenger seat, whether I know of a gun or I don't. That is besides the point.
It's very interesting. Loophole in the law. Okay, so how did you get caught? What did you do? Give us one incident.
Car theft. I was transporting, or I was transporting a crew that was going to work, and I picked up a friend along the way. But then after dropping the crew that was going to work.
By going to work, you mean they were going to do a hijacking or a house robbery or something? That kind of work?
No, car theft. Car theft was the most prevalent exercise in the mid-90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
In Umlazi. So Umlazi, in fact, has been known as a car syndicate more than any other provinces, because of the high number of car thefts and car hijackings.
Were you affected by the political upheaval in Natal and KZN during the 80s and 90s?
Oh, yes. Yes, I like Umlazi had neighbors that were opposition parties that would fight, like, as in there'll be even like dead bodies that would result out of that. I grew up in a time when Mandela was released as a teenager, and there would be a lot of toy-toying, there would be a lot of excitement, there would be a lot of Inkatha trying to suppress the UDF. I was part of that generation.
Were you involved
I
at
was,
all?
yes, I was. I was involved in part of it, because it became sort of a culture that you are young, you want to be involved. You know, Mandela, it's like he's been released. You want to be involved. It's like your peers. In fact, your elder generation was more of Inkatha Freedom Party, whilst the younger generation was more of UDF slash ANC. So it became part of my involvement and any other kid in the township.
Okay, but you were about 19 at that point, weren't you? You were like verging on adulthood.
Yes, I was 19 at that point.
And a gangster.
And a gangster.
Yeah, what an exciting life.
Do you think?
I do. I think by growing up where you grew up, you had a completely, I come from a completely different experience, my adulthood was having June 16th rehearsals at school so that we could quickly evacuate the school. That's the kind of culture difference, you know what I mean? We weren't in the front fighting the war, we were just like, in case the Swart Gevaar rose up and raided the school. That was a completely different aspect. Okay, so we get involved in a life of crime. Sorry, what were you going to say?
And going to school at some point, I used to carry a knife. The way things were so hectic during those days, I used to carry a knife going to school.
I carry a Swiss Army knife in my handbag, so you're not alone. It's handy for when you lock your cars.
I believe you.
My handbag's not here, so I can't even show you. But anyway, Musa, okay, so but you clearly you've shown the whole time by reading your bio and chatting to you before, there's no lack of intelligence, there's no lack of a wanting for a better education. You've gone on to get diplomas and degrees and really like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're far more well educated than I will ever be. That much I can tell you right now.
Education, I think, is one of the things that really makes me want to be a better person and to go on living, because I just don't see myself. In fact, I had even registered my master's degree in 2018, but because UKZN, there's a fee remission where you can do your master's, but the university pays for your master's degree. But then Dr. Jans van Jaarsberg decided to, I wouldn't say decided, or should I put it that way, leave UKZN and go take up another job in Austria. So I ended up being on a waiting list in order for me to continue with my master's degree. And I think I was applicant number 60. So whilst waiting, I had already secured a supervisor, one of my professors, Professor Naidu, who taught me in my BCom honors degree, project management. So she said, okay, I'll be your supervisor, because you had to find a supervisor on your own. So, but then it never got to my turn, because I had sent my application June. Still, my fees were not paid, so I ended up not like continuing with the master's degree, but education is one of the things that keep me sane. I'll put it that way.
Have you always felt that you wanted to write?
Yeah, I will. I'll tell you, there is a friend of mine, Faisal. He passed away, I think, in 2001. He will always say to me, the way I write my SMSs, my texts, it's like I read dictionaries and, but I said, no, it came natural that, I could just write a long text that, so I was gonna write at some point. Unfortunately, I did not want to do the writing or to comment with my writing while still studying other qualifications.
So when did you start writing Sky-Birds and Ravishers?
In 2012. In fact, I wrote Sky-Birds and Ravishers as part of my assignments.
Okay.
I took up creative writing with the Writers Bureau in UK. So you do a creative writing diploma, right? So it has 20 assignments. But then somehow Simon McGinn, my tutor, said, do you have like a novel in mind that you would want probably to write in the near future? I said, yes. And then he said, okay, let's do this. Forget about the modules, because there are 20 modules, right? Forget about the modules. Do me this favor. Just write me a synopsis of what your novel you'd like has to look like. Now, remember that when you're writing a book, there has to be a structure. You cannot just, he even made an example of a painter, and then he said a painter cannot just take a canvas and then just paint. There has to be a structure. So think about that. It's just give me a 1 page. I said, okay. I wrote 2 pages, emailed it to him, and then it wasn't even my first assignment. And then in a week or 2, he sends me an email saying, okay, I see you've got something. It didn't say, oh, it just said, okay, I see you've got something. So let's do this. Just send me an elevator pitch. Just like a few lines. Elevator pitch? What do you mean? Few lines. I can't just, he said, just try. That was the most stressful thing I've ever done, trying to write an elevator pitch. 3 lines, trying to write an elevator pitch.
So what did you write? Do you remember?
Yeah, it took me about a few days to write an elevator pitch. Emailed it to him, and he said no.
It must have been heartbreaking.
No, it was. You see, I've got his comments on all the assignments. In fact, the first 2 assignments, me and Simon were not the best of buddies. He's critiquing of my writing left me devastated. So yeah, he comes back and then he says, you might have misunderstood what I said. And then again, I had to write. I think it was the second time or the third time that he said, okay, now your elevator pitch makes sense. He didn't say it's good, he just said it makes sense. I said, okay, now let's start your writing career. The writing career now begins now. Write me the first chapter of your book in 3,500 words. 3,500 words, the first chapter. Take your time, don't rush. I said, okay. That took me about 2 weeks because he was like saying, I need you to describe your characters, everything in mind, just don't tell, show. That was like his main points in each and every assignment. Don't tell, just show.
So
whatever.
Create a picture for people to see when they're reading.
Exactly. So as I said, the first two assignments, me and Simon were not best of buddies, but on the third time of my first chapter, of my attempt of the first chapter, he wrote only few lines. He said, I am chuffed. Now I can see a writer in you.
Fantastic. So the process
So that
began.
is how the first 20 assignments, which I have in my book, 20 chapters and then an epilogue, and then synopsis. Okay, but in between the assignments, I had to send a query, letter, a synopsis, first two chapters. But yeah, that was like 1 year and a half. So that is 2012 to 2013, mid 2013.
Okay, so you actually spent a lot of time with this baby. It's not a youngster. Can you remember when you were writing, could you hear your characters? Were they talking to you? Were they real people in your head? Are you Tosobala Nozulu?
My clan name is Nozulu.
Okay.
There used to be this Sangoma traditional healer called Sosobala. So he used to do like magical things. At one point, he was in a court case where the judge like sentenced him. I can't remember the crime, but the judge sentenced him to some years, and then he said, okay, you've sentenced me to these years. I am sentencing you to sit on that chair and you will not move. And believe you me, that was the case. The judge couldn't stand up and walk.
Okay, that's a bit scary. And you're starting to be a Sangoma, right? Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Have a lovely day. So tell us about your characters. We've got a young man, what is he, late 20s, late 20s. He's growing up in town. He's a gangster. At the beginning of your book, you get the impression that the only reason he's gone to jail is because he shot or killed the rapist of his girlfriend. Was that your intention? And then to slowly unpack the rest of his crimes?
My intention was that as much as my main character was sentenced for killing the rapist, but he could have easily been sentenced for his other crimes. That was a possibility which I decided not to rush into showing him, because there is also Captain Warren Jones, who relentlessly is doing his utmost best to get this guy into jail.
Yeah, he
So
sounds like a real
all-
piece of work, that one.
he is
Yeah, he didn't sound very nice.
In all the attempts, this one of Sosobala having killed Sifiso, the rapist, was the one that to him was a done deal. So I wanted to show in the first chapter that the guy goes to jail. Whatever happens afterwards, whatever crimes that unravels, but the guy is in jail. So my main focus was to have the guy in jail before anything else, before you can even read about his other crimes.
And also you make him human, you know, so that he is a criminal and he has gone to jail for murder, but at the same time he has all these redeeming qualities, like he worries about other people and he worries about, you know, a new inmate who's becoming a Sky-Bird. So is that your way of showing us that despite the fact that he's a criminal, he's actually trying his best to be a decent human being as well? Because it doesn't last for long.
Most of the guys are pushed into the world of crime by circumstances. I wouldn't say beyond their control, but there are circumstances that push most of the guys into a world of crime or the underworld. There is in each and every fiber of their bone a good human being inside. It's just that it's the life that the guy now has been redirected to that changes the person. A person who smiles a lot will probably, once entering a criminal underworld, psychologically that changes, because you need to have, or you need to show a tough act. You need to be hard. You need to be resilient. You know, but deep down, there is a softer side of you. So so that is in each and every character in my book, the only monster is Chopper. But
he's really not a nice character at all. No redeeming qualities whatsoever.
True. So now, even you know, Simon, my tutor, did not understand why I had to kill Sosobala, kill my main character at the end. Because
you're not really supposed to tell the people how the book ends. just by the way, you know, like, not a good idea. They haven't read it. I think there's two people in this room that I know have read the book. Anybody else read the book? They'll just post it in the chat box. If you've got any questions for Musa, please post them in the chat box and I will relay them to him while we're on the subject. Where were we, Musa? What was that? What were you saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that as much as Sosobala is a criminal, but he's still a good guy in my book, in my view. It's just that the circumstances have really changed his outlook in life, because prison changes your outlook in life.
And the only way that he can actually survive and try and make life better for everybody else is to become a worse kind of person.
In fact, the only way for my main character to have stability in prison was for him to take over. Otherwise, because there is a part as well where this youngster enters the cell, the new youngster, and the youngster wants to replicate or whatever the scenario that he went through with Madubula's case. So he sees it like that this youngster is going that route. So the only way to stop the youngster from going into that route, or is for him to rebuke the youngster, because he doesn't want to go back to that Madubula scenario, like relive that moment again.
The experiences that you write about in jail, did you experience any of them yourself?
I experienced jail as a human being that easily will see that jail and outside life are two different worlds.
Do you think it's... Sorry, carry on.
Because when you enter Westville prison, it's different from a holding cell in Sierra Swart or Brighton Beach or any other place. It's Westville prison. What happens in Westville prison during your first orientation, the Tauza dance, it's the reality.
It sounds like a horrible reality, to be quite honest.
It is. That is why you must always tell your kids, don't do crime.
I had a friend who actually went to jail. He went to Sun City for about 4 years. And he's a big white guy. I mean, you wouldn't start with him if you bumped into him. He'd be like a bouncer. Yeah. And he said to me, it was the most, I mean, there were like 40 guys in the cell. And he said, if somebody didn't like you or you weren't well, he said all it took was for somebody to, you would never be able to sleep because somebody would sit and poke you all night. And when that guy got tired, somebody else would take over and just keep poking, that you would never, ever actually get any rest. And you would go insane. He said it was a nightmare. He was just lucky. He was a really, and I mean big, built like a brick shit house, really big.
You know, you can be a brick house or anything in jail, but when you get into prison, you are anybody's target. You are anybody's target. A skinny guy will take you out so quick that you would think you were in probably a dream or somewhere else. That is how prison is like.
And the food?
Oh, the food is bad. The food is bad, but you tend to get used to it. You tend to get used to it.
You talk about women visitors coming to the prison. Are they really searched like that? I mean, invasively.
In my days, it used to be that way until the prison system was changed to a correctional facility. Because and now you don't say it's prison. Now you're saying it's a correctional facility.
So what changed besides the name?
It's a system of treating visitors. It's a system of treating visitors. It's a system of inmates. I think the food is still the same. Mind you, what I'm talking of, my experience only dates back to the mid-90s, early 2000s. So whatever happened afterwards is just my imagination. So I need to clarify that.
I believe the food hasn't improved. Because it's horrifying to think that Sosobala's mother came to visit and she had to go undergo searches like that. We're talking about an elderly woman, and it's really not I was horrified. I think that out of your whole book, that's the thing that horrified me the most, because you don't expect prison life to be pleasant by any, stretch of the imagination. But when you read that to me is horrifying. I think, Hanneline, would you agree with me about that? It's the one thing from the book that's truly horrifying.
It's I would say it's part of other horrifying events that I wouldn't say that happens in prison, but that used to transpire in prisons. Because those days, remember, things were hard. That a woman will bring in contraband, probably in using any part of their bodies. I think even now, something like that, like it's not that it's not happening anymore, because if you bring in a contraband, women are the people that will be able to hide it anywhere.
Like under their boobs, tucked in where the pencils go.
Anywhere.
Who do you want to read your book, Musa?
I want my book to be read by parents. It's just that I don't think under 18s at school will be allowed, but those are the people that I want, more than anything else, for them to read the book, so that whatever they read, they will understand that there is a cutting, or at a certain point in their life, they shouldn't take a certain route. Those, it's just that I was having a conversation with my.
Musa, you've just frozen. Is it frozen for everybody? Okay, I'm frozen. Hello?
Everybody else ask some questions.
Yeah,
sorry,
my whole screen froze.
Tuesday, I just interrupted to keep things moving.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I wasn't too sure how long it would take before you got back in again.
Musa, where are you?
I'm here.
Let's see. There you are.
Can
okay.
You see me?
Yes, I can see you. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. My whole screen froze up. I don't know what I missed. Who took over? Was it Janine? Who was it? Thank you very much for for taking over. Where were we? Sorry about that.
Yeah, you were asking me who I want.
Oh yes, who you want to read your book.
Yeah. That is why I'm saying I think it's so unfortunate that teenagers at school will not get a chance to read my book, but this was actually a book for them, because it's more of enlightening, it's more of educational than anything else. I did not want to write a novel that will just be a novel to read, but I wanted a book that is educational, that will, when you read about the incidences or the activities of jail, then of prison, then you will say in your mind, like that, okay, I mustn't go that route. I mustn't try such activities, because this is what I will, or this is what will happen. Because kids will only realize once they get into prison that this is how prison is like. But if they can read a novel or a book like this at an early stage, then I think they have a better chance of not wanting to go to that route of idolizing gangsters, of wanting to do crime, of wanting to do criminal activities.
Musa, you remember we discussed at the beginning about reading. Would you read us a little bit, please?
Yes, in fact, I would like to read an excerpt at the rear cover of my book. Can I read?
Please, go ahead.
Now, the reason I had this excerpt at the rear of my book, because to me, that is like the moment of description, the moment that changes everything in the book. Okay, let me read. Something ate him alive inside. That would never stop, even if he flashed with gold and silver. He gasped for air for a while as he attempted to exhale, but it became difficult. His failures in life flashed before him, too stunned to respond. But his mother, a woman who had never asked for a husband to be taken away so soon, and for a son to choose the life of crime. All she ever wanted was happiness that was overtaken by misery. On that night, she accompanied her mourning husband to the hospital. The misery that found a home in her gloomy eyes until her last days, like the blowing easterly winds slinking to the seas. Change your life for the better, my son. If not for you, then do it for me.
No.
That to me, I wanted for every person reading the book to understand how powerful Sosobala's mother's words, because I am part of the people that were told these words at some point by my grandmother, that change your life for the better, my son. If you're not doing it for me, then, if you're not doing it for you, then do it for me. Those were some of my grandmother's words to me. That even in my adulthood years, after long living the life of crime, I would like tell another kid or tell another upcoming gangster that change your life for the better. If you're not going to do it for yourself, then probably do it for your mother, because the aftermath of you going to prison, leaving your mother, probably an elderly woman, unemployed, dependent on a pension, is so dire that you will feel her pain when she comes to visit you, and you would not be able to help her with anything because you're in prison. So yes.
What's a skybird?
It's a a skybird is a term that is used by gangsters to a guy who's to a weak person, it's easily to describe it in isiZulu, because it just tells you that this is a fool, this is a weak person. But yeah,
This is a wife. Are they like prison wives?
No, they're not like prison wives. They are just the weakest link.
you're out. What's that expression? You're the weakest link. Goodbye. Can I read this little bit? Because there was a bit that I wanted to read. Yeah. The taunting by the lieutenant continued when Sosobala snapped back to his senses. Sky-Bird ass kisser. Being called a Sky-Bird ass kisser was just like being insulted by your ex-wife's new hubby about the size of your manhood. His face tightened. He clenched his fists. His sweat broke out into tiny particles, regulating his body like electrolytes. Who was it who'd made that discovery? The lieutenant stood with a devious grin, his every part of the body mocking Sosobala. Each second that went by, so was his dignity, his pride, his manhood, tested to the limit. Sosobala lunged at him with no remorse or conscience. He lifted him up and slammed him onto the lino. They wrestled, rolling up and down. Sosobala kicked and punched. The buff lieutenant was not backing down. He headbutted the lieutenant, choked him, but the lieutenant took it in like he was just another day's work. But the lieutenant caught him with a few shots of his own that rattled his brain. Blood ran from his nose. The warders' whistles blew, and the inmates roared with excitement. He found himself again and finished off the lieutenant with a Mike Tyson pounding and ear biting. Who was it who'd beaten people in that sequence? I'm Soso, you fucking piece of shit. I'm not afraid of you, Sosobala said over and over again. It's kind of like a statement for how you live your life, right? In prison. It's a mantra.
It's kind of like not wanting to be a Sky-Bird. So you have to toughen up. You have
be
to
a ravisher.
Yeah.
How does one get your book?
I don't know if, okay, is Janine also live? Yeah.
Janine is online. Yep, she's here. Janine, do you want to unmute yourself?
And I don't know, is Claire Rose live or?
No.
No. Okay, Claire Rose is my book distribution agent. The book was supposed to be,
Hello, Janine.
Hello, I'm here. So the book is being subbed into stores at the moment by Claire Rose, who has COVID. So there is a slight delay, but as far as I know, it is available online, but it should be in bookstores in the next 3 weeks or so.
Do we have an idea of how much it is?
Yes, it's 289 rands.
Now, Musa, what if somebody wants their book signed by you? Bit of a problem, eh?
No, that is not a problem because now it's easy to courier, and get your book signed by me. So that is like definitely not an issue.
Okay, so is it a possibility that if Janine had some signed copies in Joburg or whatever, you could courier them all over the country, couldn't you? No problem.
Yes. Yeah, that is not a problem.
Okay, fantastic. Well, if anybody is interested in a copy of the book, I don't, you know me, I don't like to go out on a limb and say a book is fantastic, but this book, I sat down and read it from cover to cover. I don't normally do that. It's not, I'd rather be playing with clay than reading, quite frankly. And I literally sat and read the book from cover to cover. I think it took me a day, and then I finished the last sort of 50 pages on the second day. But it's a hardcore read. It's a very good read. It's a very human read. Your characters are very real. And I thought Monty was a little bit soft in the end, to be honest. But it also made him human.
No, Monty was not soft in the end. There is that moment in everybody's life that when a situation is so dire and something unavoidable transpires, and you realize that I did not see this coming, that Sosobala will sacrifice his own life. So I wouldn't say he's being soft. It's just that it's that moment in his life where he was taken aback.
Okay, fair enough. Melanie wrote here, Musa, you're an inspiration and should talk at schools. I've just downloaded it on Kindle. Can't wait to read it. So there you go. You can get it on Amazon Kindle if you want it. With pleasure, Rashida. Definitely read it. It really is a fabulous read. I don't know if it's a book you can turn around and say you enjoyed. I mean, but clearly it is an enjoyable book. I don't know how you felt about that, Hanneline. Give us a comment. You've read the book. Oops, you've gone all together.
You know what? I really didn't read the book. I thought I read it. There was another book with Sky something, and I confused them. So I humbly apologize, but I can't wait to read it.
Okay. Chloe said, I read it. I loved reading it. It is haunting. It is haunting. It is a book that follows you. Absolutely, without a doubt. I will share Janine's, well, if anybody would like the book, get in touch with me. I'll share Janine's details on the group. And Musa, everything of the best. And you're going to send me the new book. Tell us about the new book.
Yeah,
that's why not taken 8 years to write.
That is why I said I needed your email. Already I had beta readers. I got a friend in the US and a friend in the UK. So they've already read it, and they've given a readability score of 6.5 over 10. So there's a chapter which I need to either cut out or re-edit. But it's an interesting book. It's more of based on the current situation of GBV, and my main character is a woman.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
what's it like writing from a woman's perspective?
It's actually kind of takes you to a place that you've never been, but that is intriguing and exciting, and wanting to get into a woman's perspective of doing things, of looking at things, of walking, of talking, of any reaction, or it's kind of interesting. I can put it that way. That is why I specifically wanted Ashley Brown, two women to read my book, US and the UK, so that they will say, a woman don't think like that, a woman don't act like that, a woman don't, But then when they send a report, I had said, okay, that means I'm on the right track. I do understand women. Which I doubt.
Nobody understands women, Musa.
Which.
Okay, don't know where you went.
Oh God.
Musa, can you still hear me? It doesn't matter, I can't see you, but can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, there you are. I just wanted to say thank you. There's a couple more comments. Gerda says she'll definitely be reading it. Thanks so much. Mel said, good luck, you deserve it. Kerry says, it sounds like a book for high schools. Thanks, Musa. It's been fascinating. Kerry is a school teacher, so if she says it should be in high schools, then maybe you need to rethink. Maybe you can get in to speak to Kerry. You never know. She might have a way in. She is a school teacher. And Hanneline, thanks so much. Can't wait to read it. Musa, thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. And we wish you everything of the best and can't wait to read the new book. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for having me. It's been an honor. So humbled. Thank you. Thank you.
No, the honor's ours altogether. Thanks so much, everybody. Can't wait to see you again. Go well. Bye.
Bye.